Okay, so now that we have both of our 3 to 5% suspensions made up for both our donor and our recipient, we're going to go ahead and make 3 more tubes. So one is going to be our recipient control tube, one tube is going to be our minor, and one tube is going to be our major. So I preemptively labeled all of those. So first things first, over here I have my paper towels with a whole bunch of fresh pipettes because we're going to be using a lot right now because we want to keep it as clean and sterile as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and start with my major test tube. So I have it labeled major with today's date. So I'm going to go ahead and take off the cap for that one. And that is going to be a mixture. I'm going to want 2 drops of my recipient plasma, which is Sky. So we're going to go ahead, take a clean pipette, and we're going to place 1, 2 drops. We're going to throw that pipette in the garbage and put that cap back on. Okay, so that was 2 drops of the recipient plasma, which was Sky. We're going to get another pipette, and we're also in the same tube going to add in 1 drop from our donor Sophie of the 3 to 5% suspension. So we're going to add 1 drop. Okay, we're going to throw out that pipette. We're going to put the lid back on that one. Okay, so then that creates our major tube. Put on the cap. We just want to gently invert that a couple of times. Okay, so that's our major tube. So then moving on, next we're going to have our minor tube, or minor test tube. So I labeled it minor with today's date. Take off the lid. So then I'm going to get a clean pipette, and that is going to be 2 drops of our donor plasma, which is Sophie. One, 2. We're going to throw that out. Put our cap back on. And then that's going to be mixed with our recipient 3 to 5% suspension, which is Sky. So we're going to add 1 drop of that with a new pipette. One drop. We'll throw that out. Put on the cap. Okay. And again, that is the completion of our minor test tube. So we put on the lid, and we're going to just gently invert that a couple of times. Okay. And then last but not least, we have our tube over here labeled recipient control and today's date. So I'm going to take off the lid on that. And that's the recipient control. So then for that, we're going to be doing Sky, which is the recipient plasma, mixed with Sky's, who's the recipient 3 to 5% suspension. Okay, so again, it's labeled recipient control with today's date. We're going to start with 2 drops of the recipient plasma with a fresh pipette. One, 2. Throw that out. Put the cap back on. Alright. And then we're going to take the recipient 3 to 5% suspension, which is Sky, with a new pipette. And we're going to add 1 drop. 1. Throw that out. Put the lid back on that one. Alright, so we're going to pick that up. We're going to go ahead and put on the cap. And then again, we're just going to invert that gently a couple of times. Okay, so I'm going to put that over there. So as I summarize this real quick, we have all the samples for our major, our minor, and our recipient control. Alright, so we gently inverted all of them. So now we're just going to go ahead and let them sit at room temperature for 15 minutes. So I'm going to just set a timer. Okay, so again, all three of those tubes were mixed gently, and they're just going to incubate at room temperature for 15 minutes, which I said on here. So I'm going to press start. And once the timer is done in 15 minutes, I'll be back and we'll move on to the next part.